Hey, welcome to the I Am a Champion episode along with me and Jonathan Flowers. Today we're talking about being a champion of not only managing yourself, but managing others. Jonathan, man, I'm excited for our guest today. Do you want to kind of give us a little insight on who we got today?
So one of the people we have is Kerry Fisher, and Kerry is helps people with meditation. She is also instructs with yoga, Pilates, things to help with your body and manage yourself. She's also a mom living on the East Coast in some of that cold weather, so she's learned how to manage a family. And I've learned some things from her about meditation and how to better manage myself and help get to be better with not just my sports and athletics, but handling my family, my day-to-day stuff, work stress, especially with things going on with COVID and all that kind of stuff. And I think the other person is, you know him better than I do, so you should take an introduction for that.
Yeah, Adam Rosales, man, he is a minor league manager for the Oakland Athletics, played about, I think, 9 years in the major leagues, won the Heart and Hustle Award his rookie year. And so now he's upon managing 18 to 20-year-olds, so he's managing a team. And so, being a champion in those areas is definitely something that, we're excited to bring them on today. So, Kerry and Adam, welcome to the show, guys.
Hey, thank you. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, Kerry, I want to start with you first. So how can you give us some tips on how do you become a champion of managing yourself? You work with yoga, with breath work, that kind of thing. Can you give us like some initial tips to get started on how to become a champion of managing yourself?
Absolutely. And thank you guys. It's great to be here with all of you. I like all of you very much. And I think you all have a lot to offer. So the easiest thing that I tell my clients, the simplest way to do this is every day, try to do something to take care of your body, your mind, and your spirit. Right? So I like to keep everything super simple. I don't like to overcomplicate things. I like to learn a lot of stuff and then I boil it down to make it really, really simple. That's basically what I do. I teach people simple techniques to have an extraordinary life, an epic life. That's what I'm after. I think that everyone should be after that. So if every day you do something for your body, exercise, eat right, it could come in a lot of different forms. You do something for your mind. So reading, listening to inspirational podcasts, watching us right now, or your spirit is, again, your spirit is also a little bit tied into that. But spirit could also be something like, it could be reading, it could be inspirational, it could be journaling, it could do gratitude practice. We could talk about all these things, or it could be something as simple as spending time with your family. It's a balance. It's really just a balance. And I think that that's what happens. Some of us are good in some areas, some of us are good in other areas, but we need to start looking at ourselves as a full person.
Yeah. And so, Adam, my question would be to you next is, so you manage yourself, but now you as a manager, you're managing, 18 to 20-year-olds, maybe their first year in the major leagues. How do you take that and combine, what Kerry just said to a group of people?
Well, I love what Kerry said, but I think that the key thing is the consistency, doing it every single day. I like what you said, doing it not just here and there, but make it habitual, doing it incorporating it into your everyday routine. And, dealing with, we're going to have about 60 players in the AZL down here. So it's going to be a lot to manage, a lot of different dynamics, a lot of different players. But it's all about the culture, right? What kind of culture you create for these young players is probably going to be the most important thing that I do.
Yeah, okay. So my question to you, Kerry, and then I'll go to you, Adam, is this. You talked about making it super simple and managing things and how you can do something every day. But part of that stuff, and I'm really big on this, the motivation. You get up in the morning, maybe you don't want to do these things. Maybe you don't feel like reading. And the whole thing, I don't have time. We all talk about that. How do you get the motivation behind all that?
I'll tell you, the simplest way to do it is you have to tie it in, all these practices, with things you do every day. So I really encourage people to wake up 15 minutes early, 20 minutes early. I really would rather you wake up an hour early, but I start out saying wake up 5 minutes early. Start with that. Start easy. So you want to build in success, right? So that's what I do with all my clients. Start with one thing, hit your snooze button, meditate until the snooze goes off again, right? Then you get up and start your day, okay? You start feeling really good, and then what happens is after a few days, you're like, oh, maybe I could hit the snooze twice. So maybe you'll journal, and then maybe you'll do your meditation. So I like to stack habits, and I like to do them with and I also, a lot of people say, oh, have a morning routine, have an evening routine. I teach that to some people. For me, it doesn't work. I'm like a natural rebel. So even when I give myself a routine, I'm going to immediately be like, no, I'm not doing that anymore, even though I was the one who wanted to do it. So I like to be easy on myself. I wake up an hour early, and I use that snooze button technique, and I do different things. Sometimes I do a gratitude practice. Sometimes I do yoga. Sometimes I'll meditate for the whole time, but I like to mix it up. The key, you guys, always is doing what's right for you. I don't have the answers, but you do. I could teach you the techniques, but you're going to have to figure out where it works for you. It might work better for you at night before bed. So that's what I'm all about, figuring out what works for you and how is it going to be most beneficial to your life. And the easiest, I believe in having it simple.
Awesome. So Adam, to you, same kind of question. Like it's even more because you said 60 people. I know what it feels like to be in pro training camps and things, and there's personalities, maybe a little bit of ego, all over the place. How do you manage that and motivate people to do the habits that they need to do, to study the playbook, to do the drills, to get in the weight room, to get up when they're supposed to, and show up to practice on time, all those little things, as well as taking care of themselves?
Man, I got really good with doing that in my own little bubble, right? Like I get to learn how to manage myself, and now how to manage 60 kids is going to be, I've never done it before, so it's going to be a good challenge, but it's going to be a lot of relying on my staff. Like I've mentioned culture. These guys are brilliant. They have a ton of experience. They know how to manage. They know how to do hitting, pitching. It's going to be a lot of me relying on them, but making sure that you talk about motivation. It's kind of easy for us to do because we all love doing it, right? Like Kerry said, you got to figure out what's right for you, what your why is, why you're even here. And that's the message I want to deliver to these young players is, why are you even playing baseball? And I want to address that often, to say, just to kind of check in with them and say, let's make sure you are motivated for today. Make sure you get your job done today, because ultimately you want to win, but you want to become a Major League Baseball player. So that should be your why every single day.
Wait, I have a really quick tip for Adam, because I like to make everything simple. I think I'm just going to send you a whip and a lasso. I think that will be all you really need. Is that inappropriate? I don't know. Think about it. Just think about it.
Hey, Adam does have a lot of whip to keep in mind in the baseball terminology. So, talking about whip here.
That wasn't what I was talking about, but all right.
Yeah, no, I love it. I think I needed one of those when I was playing. Whip and lasso for myself.
And I hear you guys talking. It sounds like a lot of it's got to come from within. So how do you find that inner desire to want to be great, to want to put these stack habits in there? Is it found through meditation, Kerry? Is it found through breath work? Is there or what is it that maybe yoga, breath work, meditation can do to help you find the inspiration? Because motivation is temporary sometimes. But if you're inspired, you're more likely to carry on these habits. So what, from a yoga meditation standpoint, can you help find inspiration?
You know what? I'll give you my background. So I was a lawyer, mom of 5, crazy life. And, it looked like I had everything, definitely, right? I have a nice house, I have everything, but I really wasn't happy. And I think that that's what the key is. You have to get super honest with yourself. And the reason, it doesn't have to be meditation. For some people, it is playing baseball. For some people, it's driving in a car, running, hiking. I think you need to do something where you could get really quiet in your mind. You ever drive for a long time and you kind of be like, oh, how did I even get here? You get into that state, and again, it's different for everybody. You get into that state and you start listening to really what your heart is saying, for that inner voice. And people are like, what inner voice are you talking about? There is no inner voice. That's the inner voice, right? So when you quiet down and you're here, you're thinking, oh, there's no inner voice. That's your inner voice. You know what you want. And I think that once you figure out what you want, for me, when I had the courage to leave law and become a wellness expert and a coach, I'm passionate about it. I don't even just have a work schedule. I just do it all day long. I just love it so much. I do it from morning to night. And I think that maybe Adam could talk about this. When you're following your passion, it's not really work, right? And that's where the motivation comes from. And I need to keep myself feeling good so I could do what my passion is, what my mission here is.
Yeah, I always say I hadn't worked a day in my life. Well, I worked at Bob Evans when I was in Western Michigan, and that was work. And I'm like, I never want to do that again. So I got to make sure I love what I do. And that's a great point, Kerry. But I thought when you were talking, I thought about the word, heuristics, like the grouping that, the mentality, taking shortcuts. So it's easier. You can get to it quicker. You can understand how to do it. So it's not such like a daunting task every day to find that motivation. But for me, also I was going to say like the power in, like you mentioned, journaling, writing down what you're doing every day, kind of keeping track of your progress and celebrating those little successes, writing it down. There's a powerful thing putting the pen to the paper, I believe.
Yeah, this is a great segue to this, because I'm a big fan of, if your why can overcome anyhow, if your why is passionate enough. And it's not real to me until you write it down. Think what Adam was saying. I'm really big on that. It's a between a dream and an actual passion is there's a plan and there's steps and you're doing something to get to it. So when you guys talk about journaling and writing things down and keeping track of things, I know that takes a lot of discipline. I know it takes heart. How do you go about course correcting? Let's say I wrote some things down, I'm doing some things for a week or 2 weeks, and it's not working. Do I muscle through it, or do I course correct and try a new passion, a new direction? I'm directing that at you, Kerry, first.
Oh, okay. I was like, Adam. I really think that sometimes that's what I like about having a goal list. So I do a goal for the year, a giant goal, and I break it down into quarters. And I don't think it's static. I reassess that all of the time. And you have to kind of, what did you say? The why overcome, what was it? The why?
A powerful why will overcome anyhow.
Yeah, I love that, because the truth is you have to figure out. So say you hit that resistance, right? So you want to start journaling, you stop journaling, you hit the resistance. You have to decide, like, you have to get really deep and be like, what's the resistance? Is the resistance, because I just don't like this and it doesn't work for me? And that could take some time to figure that out, But like any practice, I like the morning thing. So I would leave a journal next to my bed and I would just write a couple of things down. And sometimes because people have an idea of how it needs to look, that's the other thing. Like meditation is be on the ground with your legs crossed, and journaling has to be this long, beautiful process. What if your journaling was just bullet pointing, So again, it's always just figuring out what works for you. And I do think you have to course correct. Sometimes I have something on my list and I never get to it, and then I get real with myself. I'm like, do you even want to do that, Kerry? Or is that just something you think you want to do? So it's just this constant reassessing. I think we should all do it all the time. We're not taught to do that. We're taught, oh, I'm going to be a lawyer. Now I'm a lawyer. That's it. And you're not supposed to stop. When I decided to stop being a lawyer, everyone I knew was like, you can't do that. You can't do that, Kerry. And I'm like, I'll do, and if you tell me I can't, I'm going to definitely doing it now, But it's like, everyone wants to tell me. And to this day, I'll be honest with you, my mom is like, how's your little yoga thing going, Kerry? Like people have a lot to say, but at the end of the day, it's your life. Your life is your masterpiece. Live it the way you want, and it comes to being really honest. And that's where like the meditation is good.
Yeah. So to you, Adam, same thing. Like, there's things a player may have a batting technique or a training technique or eating regimen or whatever, and you're trying to keep him on track and it's not working for him. Like, how do you teach them to course correct? What do you use to do that type of stuff?
I had a great teammate, Joey Votto, in Cincinnati, and I was struggling as a rookie in 2009 with the Cincinnati Reds, and I didn't know what to do. Like, I had nowhere to go, and so Joey Votto pulled me aside and said, hey, do me a favor, be patient with yourself, right? And I think that's on the course correction, you have to be patient. If there's anything that I learned in baseball, you have to see the long view. If you're trying to get results right now and you want to be successful or you want to be recognized right now, it's not going to happen. Or you're going to get lucky or whatever, but you have to have the long view and be patient with yourself, be patient with the process. That's what I would like to deliver to young players.
Yeah, quick, I want to jump on that real quick before you jump in, Jason. Jason knows this. When I went to my first NFL training camp, I went from a high school playbook that was like, this thick, into a college one with this, into a phone book. And we didn't have iPads and things like that then. It was a big phone book. And I tried to memorize that entire defensive playbook in one night. I literally did. It was the worst practice I ever had the next day because I was so impatient with everything. I wanted to do what everybody did. I almost quit. I almost said, this isn't for me. Called my dad. We picked one defensive scheme, and I just got that down. And after that, everything was fine. But so I understand the patient thing, I would say, is really huge.
Yeah, I think, I heard one time patience is bitter but bears sweet fruit. Sometimes you got to be okay with being really bad at something. Sometimes you got to be okay with failing at it, but then being really reflective on feedback. Okay, like, okay, what is the learning opportunity here in the feedback? Because I'll be honest, Kerry, right now I'm not very good at yoga. I tried to do it 10 minutes this morning. Like I'm not flexible enough yet. I'm like, gosh dang, how does Kerry do this? This downward dog stuff is, but I was like, okay, I got a little bit better today. And I think for both of you as coaches in the space, like, how do we encourage growth over a fixed mindset, championing these skill sets? Because a lot of times people fail the first time. They're like, I'm done, not for me. They don't even give it a second chance. So what do you tell them? Like, no, like, it's about where you were, today as opposed to where you were yesterday. Can you all, Kerry, ladies first, can you expand upon that a little bit?
Yeah, but first, I just want to tell everyone I'm really excited because all the guys have said that they will put on nice tight yoga pants and do yoga with me, right, you guys? I'm just kidding. I don't want to see that. I
don't know about the pants, but I will help you with yoga. Yeah.
Jason, I'm sending you a very special pair of leopard skin.
Okay.
You know I have them. All right, so I lost track. All right, so mindset, is that what you were talking about?
Yeah, just like growth mindset of like, hey, you know what? I'm not very good at it now, but that doesn't mean I won't be very good at it at some point, right?
Right. Well, you know what? I don't think that's something that we also don't learn when we're growing up. We don't learn to fail and keep, trying and trying and trying, which is funny though, because when you're a baby, you always do that, right? So when you're learning to crawl, you don't just say, oh, I couldn't figure out how to do this crawling, so I'm not going to do it. You just keep trying and trying and trying until you do it. If you watch babies and children, that's who we should be learning from. But for some reason, when we get up, we get older, it's like our ego comes in, right? We're scared to fail because we're like, oh, what are people going to think? What are people going to say? I experienced it. When I became a yoga teacher. Everyone was like, what is wrong with her? Why is she doing that? And it was hard for me. And honestly, standing up in front of a class for the very first time, that was really hard for me. And I didn't like not being good at it. And then finally, one of my mentors said to me, Kerry, why do you expect to be as good as someone who's teaching for 20 years, And that's what the point is. We're meant to just practice and fail, practice and fail, practice and fail until we figure it out, right? And the growth mindset is all about, I don't need to be perfect. I'm transforming. I'm constantly transforming. And I've really moved into a point of my life now that when something is feeling like, oh, I'm scared to do that, I don't want to do it, then I do it. I know I have to do it then. And I used to not be like that. I used to be like, oh, I'm scared of that, I won't do it. It's easy to play it safe, you guys. We all know it. Mm-hmm. And you know what happens? There's always going to be the people. There will always be people saying, ha ha, she failed. But guess what? They're sitting on their couch, just, on their phone saying, ha ha, she failed. I was out there trying and failing. And guess what? One day I'm going to succeed. And they're going to still be on their couch saying she sucks, So I just say, forget what everyone says, tune into yourself. And guess what? The right people come into your life. It's pretty incredible when you switch to that growth mindset. That's just my own Kerry's philosophy, Kerryopathy, I guess.
Kerry, I love it.
Sorry. And you got to get
Adam, man, I was going to talk to you, Adam, too, because you got a lot of kids that they're rookies. Maybe they're some of the best players at their high school or their college. Maybe hey, I got it figured out, coach. I'm good. I'm going straight to the pros. I'll be here and then boom, like middle of the season, they see that first curveball they've ever seen before and like, oh, dang, I don't know if I can hit this, coach. So how is it like managing ego, what Kerry said, to develop that growth mindset? And because you're working with like 18 to 22-year-olds probably or somewhere around that age, that can be a very high ego level of life. At least it was for me and sometimes. So, developing a growth mindset at that age, what do you think about that?
Yeah, because a player like that is super talented, has had a ton of success, hasn't quite failed, like Kerry was talking about. They're going to get blindsided, right? And you got to be prepared for that. I mean, that's the thing. They think they got to figure it out. But the thing is, they haven't been uncomfortable yet. And that's the thing about growth mindset. You got to get comfortable with being uncomfortable, right? I mean, but the thing that's tough about growth mindset is, how do you measure it, right? Mm-hmm. Especially in baseball, baseball's a numbers game. Everything's measured, crazy stats. So how do you measure that success? Or so I would say, like, you have to find a way to define the success, or teach these players that do get blindsided how to define success. Like for me, I was fighting Clayton Kershaw, right? Probably the toughest left-hander in the league, right? In the major leagues, pitcher for the Dodgers, and never had great success off of Clayton Kershaw. But he has all these nasty pitches, but his cutter like breaks at the last second. Inside was all the one that always jammed me, got me out. But one time I actually took it and I saw it, I recognized it, and I said, "Wow, that's a success." Like I defined, there's no number on that, right? Nobody's gonna pat me on the back for that. But that was my growth mindset. I succeeded off of Clayton Kershaw because I took his nastiest pitch that got me out. I struck out that at bat, right? Don't get me wrong. But I still went back to the dugout like, all right, next time I see that, I know for sure that I got him figured out in a little bit better, that 1% better today. And you got to celebrate. You got to define what success is, I believe.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question? I have a question real quick for Adam and Jonathan, because I'm really curious about this. So, obviously you're like a big man before you get into the major leagues. So is there that moment where you're just like slapped down, or like how is that? I am curious about that.
My dad had this phrase, this thing called humble pie with a side of ass whooped a la mode. And it's extremely humbling. You got to have, there's one or two things that happen. You go, oh my God, this is awful. I can't do this. I can't do it. And you don't necessarily break forever, but you're done in your mind. Like you really go down the bottom. And like he said, a teammate might pull you out or a coach might pull you out. Or the other one is you throw your shoulders back and you kind of go, I'm not letting it be like this for the rest of my life or my career. I'm not walking away from this. I was kind of in the middle. There were some times in practice where, dude, I know I'm better than you. You need to stop talking to me. And then other times I was like, oh my God, see how fast that guy was? Oh my God, the ball got there. I'm on the receiver. I'm like hugging him, taking him to dinner and paying for it. And the ball gets there anyway. Like it's like, wow. Like, and this is the fourth string quarterback throwing this ball. And I'm like, whoa. So when that hits you in the face, you just hope you have a good support system around you. If you don't, reach out and talk to people. Like he said, go to a teammate. Because it's a brutal, like I call it the 72-hour humble. It's a brutal, you got a day of like, did it really happen like that? Yeah, it did. And now what do I do?
So would you say that the people who have a growth mindset are more likely to succeed?
Absolutely. If you're looking at like, I'm trying to keep going forward and do something, I'm trying to achieve something, have a goal. If you're just there because you want to get to the pros, no, you want to play in the pros and you want to succeed in the pros. Getting there is an amazing accomplishment. Don't get me wrong. However, that wasn't your goal. That was a step in your goal. And if you don't realize that, when that humble pie hits you, it doesn't taste good. It's not. It's an ego busting. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I thought I was the man. I'm 6'5", 225. Just got an army. You couldn't talk to me. I'm Jonathan Flowers. People know me. And then that just changed instantaneously. So, I mean, I don't know how it was for you, Adam, but it was brutal for me for like 2 or 3 days.
No, yeah. No. Well, I've always kind of just been like, I don't know, like I did separate myself from the pack, but I was never like the best player. I was kind of like struggled my way up and stayed and kept grinding with that growth mindset. But my last couple of years of playing, I called my dad up. And I said, Dad, I am really struggling right now. I don't know how to get out of this. And like you talk about your dad, about humble pie. But so I said, Dad, I'm struggling bad. And he said, Adam, the way I look at it, you've always struggled. I'm like, thanks a lot. But it's one big struggle. But the thing is, you have to keep your eyes on your vision. Yeah. Like you have, like on your why. Why are you doing this? And like for me, my why was always to play one game in the major leagues, preferably at Wrigley Field in Chicago, where I grew up. And if I lost sight of that vision, like Kerry, like you said, people are going to tell you like, "Why are you doing this?" Like, there's no way, or like you're going to hear a lot of distractions. But you got to make sure because you're going to get humbled a lot, but you got to make sure you keep that why, that vision, why you're doing this.
Yeah, agreed.
Adam, that's the name of your book, Struggle Your Way Up. That's excellent. I love that. Write that down.
You help me write that.
Yeah, and so it's what I hear you say, Adam, is embracing the struggle, like leaning into it, like facing it, because a lot of times people will run from it. A lot of times people they run away from the struggle, like it's too scary, and it's like, and I think, Kerry, that's maybe where meditation could come into play, because what if our previous guest on the podcast, Brandon Geyer, talked about visualizing yourself being calm when things aren't going your way, because I think there's a misconception of like, oh, meditation and visualization is all about like seeing this utopian, like best case scenario. But I think it's deeper than that. I think it's more like visualizing yourself being calm, being poised, regardless of what life throws at you. I mean, do you want to expand upon that?
Yeah, I would love to. And Adam, I really hope that you do a lot of that stuff. I hope you do the visualization. I'm sure you know, actually, but all of the people who've achieved the things that were like, wow, that's amazing, like Michael Phelps, all those top level people, they all use visualization. Even Bruce Jenner, before he became a woman, he won on the decathlon. It was really an amazing accomplishment. Do you know that every single night before bed, he imagined himself doing every single event perfectly? And Michael Phelps, every night before he goes to sleep, he does this whole thing where he goes through whatever the event is in his mind, executing it perfectly. And people think it's like woo-woo, they think it's this crazy stuff, but there's a lot of science on it now. It's really incredible. So Adam, I hope you do bring the visualization to your team. And I work with a lot of teams, high school and college, and I teach them that. I always go in pretending I'm teaching yoga, but I'm really teaching like mindset, visualization, and really this growth mindset in general, because I think that's what makes a great player. That's what makes a great person. That's what makes a person great in every area, and people think of meditation as one thing, clearing your mind. I don't do meditation that way. I do guided meditations where I target it to what the people are working on, right? And you can even do your own meditation. You don't need me. You don't need anyone. You could just speak into your phone whatever you want to have happen in your life, and you could listen to it to yourself. You could guide your own meditation, and that's the most powerful one you could do, But again, it's figure out a practice that works for you. I don't really have an easy time visualizing. So visualization doesn't always work for me. I think in words more, but writing really works a lot for me. Whatever I write down, I'll write something, put it away, I lose it, I'll find it 5 years later. That thing got accomplished somehow. So that's what works for me, but I would try all the things. I would try meditation. I would try visualization. I would try gratitude practice, forgiveness practice. I would try all these things. And here's the thing. Does it work? Does it not work? Is it real? Who really cares? I don't care. I just want it to work. If it works, I don't really give it a darn. I don't really care. I just want it to work. So I just say, stop questioning it. Stop saying, oh, that's just silly. That's stupid. Just try it. And if it works, then it's good. That's what my advice would always be to anyone, always.
So the question I would have for you guys, and this is really near and dear to my heart, this next generation of kids are actually, I would say, if they're your kids that are teenagers and a little younger, they are seriously into or just came out of this instant gratification type world where you click on this, you click a button, this is easy, I jump on my phone, do all this kind of stuff. And when things don't happen right away for them, they just chalk it up to it wasn't meant for me as opposed to working through it. How do you kind of deal with that? Because I have a teenage daughter, as Jason knows, that is trying to play volleyball in college and has done very well, has exceeded my expectations and how she's handled that. But some of the kids I know, as soon as something, the littlest thing doesn't go smooth, it's not easy, they quit. So how would you guide young kids? I'll start with you on that one, Adam.
That's all the perseverance, right? How to guide kids. It's all about building them up. I think I see a lot of, or I hear a lot of stories about coaches breaking kids down to try to build them up. I think it's the opposite. You really got to bring a positive reinforcement, and you got to find a way to make it fun for them. You got to find a way to think outside the box, to get creative in what you're doing. And again, it's not just one player. One size doesn't fit all. You have to find a way to cater to each individual. And it comes down to communication, the relationship that you build with each individual that's going to help them want to persevere. I've been on teams where I felt like I was the 26th guy on the roster. Like I was the guy going AAA, big leagues, AAA, and I felt that way. And there's other teams, I'll say it, the Oakland A's, where I never felt that way. And I'll say my favorite manager, Bob Melvin, always made me feel like I was a core part of the team, right? And I think that's making sure including everybody.
Yeah.
Even if it was, hey, yeah, you haven't played in 4 days, but you know what? In 2 days, you're facing Madison Bumgarner. Be ready for him. In 2 days, you're playing shortstop. Like, I think the communication and making them feel like they're included goes a long way. And that's all about the positive reinforcement that coaches bring. And that's that culture again, right? It's going to trump everything.
Hey, by the way, we got a surprise guest on the show coming on. Hey, Jimmy, what's going on, man?
Hey.
So I had to do some character stuff today, taking care of some family stuff. So I know that Jonathan would get mad at me if I didn't. So sorry I couldn't be here earlier.
Priorities, brother. Priorities. We always talk about that. We were just talking about that on the show. So,
I was excited though to get on a call with this many incredibly like-minded individuals that are doing amazing things. So I had to get on. I was excited to hear all this.
It's good to see
He
you.
has that like announcer voice. I feel like he's ready to announce a game. Are you an announcer? Am I like?
Now, Jonathan told me he'd announce Julius Ervin, though, right?
oh, you dude,
Announce him.
dude, Dr. J is my favorite all-time athlete ever on the planet.
Julius Dr. J. Irvin.
It was David Zinkletter, man. He was the voice of the Sixers, man. He passed away, I think, about 3 years ago or something like that. And his big thing about him was awesome. It was a great. I mean, that's how you identify with him, you know.
So what's going on with the character talk? Adam's been talking. I want to hear what's been going on this. Tell me about it.
So the main thing we've been talking about, Jim, is how you have whether it being a champion, but more about how you do manage yourself and manage other people. And it's building the best character you can, both whether it's building a team, whether it's your family, whether it's just a bunch of like-minded individuals like ourselves that are doing business. But most importantly, it has to start with you. Kerry said it a couple of times before, as Adam, is your own self-motivation, your own self-tool, the way you do what works for you, and keeping it simple. So, you know, maybe we could kind of round it out with, if you had to give one final thought to how people can improve at managing themselves or other people, what would that be? Kerry, you can go first. Ladies first, of course.
I would say that before you do anything, take a deep breath and then do it.
Adam?
Man, yeah.
I mean, that's a great piece of advice right there. What was say the question again?
So the question is, if you had to leave with one thing on how to better manage yourself or manage people, you know, to improve on that, to help things we've been talking about this whole show, what would be that one thing you would do or say?
Well, I like what Kerry said about it doesn't matter what you're really doing. You just want it to work out, right? Whatever exercise you're trying to do, if it's new. And the reason why that's so important to try and do things of what works for you is good. Honestly, what really works out is that it gives you that control. Right? It gives you a sense of control that you're doing your best. And that's all anybody can ask for.
Okay. You know, Jason and Jim, you're on the show too. What would you say, Jason?
Man, I like, you know, not to be unoriginal, but I have a 4 and a 1-year-old, right? And so sometimes things can get a little chaotic. For example, my 1-year-old pretty much painted his whole face this morning. So it's like, just breathe. Like you mentioned, like, because sometimes like, you know, like, oh my God, this mess, my kid, like, what am I going to do here? You get yourself all worked up for nothing. Like, hey, you know what? He's a kid. He's just having fun. Like, just, it's all good. Everybody's going to be safe and healthy. It's cool. And I think it's, you know, being able to think clearly. I think breath work is huge in that. And there's not enough talked about that. And breathing through your nose too. Like, you know, we breathe so much through our mouth, but I think, you know, really learning how to breathe through our nose, it really is something like there's refreshing about that. And, you know, that's maybe a different conversation, but I really like what Kerry said about, you know, just breathe, you know, and breathe deeply. Don't breathe as shallow, right? Breathe deeply and just let it flow, you know?
Wait, Jason, I have to just tell you this quick story because this reminded me of it. So I have 5 kids. So we were at the baseball field, my husband and I, all our kids. One of my kids was really little at the time. And I had this whole backpack I would give them of art supplies. So we're watching the game. We're about to leave. The game is over. I turn around. My son's face is completely blue, the littlest one. My daughter had used a Sharpie, of all things. So he looked like a little Smurf. And I had to walk through the whole field, and this is like a giant place with my blue child. And my husband and I always call it like the walk of shame. We'll never forget. I was like, trying to breathe, but I made it through. So you will too, Jason.
Yeah, it's almost like you had a Smurf kid for a while.
Smurf child. We're very multi-ethnic around here.
So finishing off, like Jimmy, you came in late, but what would you say?
Yeah, I think for me and Jason's kind of helped me with this, is, kind of course affirming things yourself when you start to lose it. And I think going back to like you're talking about like deep breath, just breathing. But I start saying to myself, like, why does everything happen in my favor? Under grace and perfect ways with the best timing. Why does everything happen in my favor? Under grace and perfect ways with the best timing. And we can always find good in something. But it's like it's working in my favor. And I think when you start thinking like things are working in your favor, you're not like so maybe fearful, you're so anxious, right, of what's maybe happening, that things are going to take place that's not going to go the way you want it to, or it's going to be more negative. You start to think more positive pictures, like on the screen of your mind. And it just has helped me to be more kind of at peace where I'm at. Even if I don't see things happen the way exactly I want it, I know it is working in my favor.
So for me, I would go along with, not to be unoriginal like Jason said, I'm with Kerry. Because one coach said to me one time, kind of on the Deion Sanders level, if you breathe well, you feel well. You feel well, you think well, you move well. And so everything starts with breathing. And that's when you hyperventilate, you get anxiety, you're nervous, whatever. But if you breathe, everything starts to control itself slowly. And that's what I would say. I'm with her. Take a deep breath, step back, and just breathe. And let things run its course. Your body's designed to fix itself, to maintain itself, to move forward. Just let it breathe.
Hey, I got an idea though on this, Jonathan. As we're wrapping this up, we ought to have Miss Yoga teacher do like a little breathing exercise for everybody, like ourselves right now before we get off. Like, what do we have? You got something for us?
I'm going to give you two different ones, actually.
Oh yeah.
You could use this with your team. No charge. All right. So I'm going to give you two easy ones. These are ones I teach all my clients for anytime you're stressed out in your life. All right. So the first one is a relaxation breath. We'll do it together. There's 3 different levels, and just follow along with me. So the first one, ready? So just sit up nice and straight. That's the only thing that I demand. All right. Breathe in through your nose, and then just out through your mouth. All right, that one you could do anywhere. You could do that one in public. You could do that one anywhere you are, all right? The next one, we're gonna breathe in through our nose and kind of sigh out through our mouth, because sighing is our body's natural way of releasing stress. So we're forcing it, right? So we're gonna be able to just take control of this and force the sigh. Ready? So breathe in through your nose. And then just breathe out through your mouth with a sigh. Don't get perverted though. All right. Sorry, I'm a little X-rated. I have to clean my act up. All right, here's the last one. Ready? Breathe in through your nose. Bring your shoulders all the way up. And as you exhale, you make this sound and drop your shoulders. All right, so the first one you could do in public. The middle one, it's better when you're like in your room, in your closet. So no one house doesn't get any bad ideas, and no one could hear you. Your kids don't think you're crazy. The third one also, that's the best one when you're stressed. This is the global pandemic one, you guys. All right, that's when there's a global pandemic. All right, and then my favorite thing of all, which I teach everybody, is box breathing. This is a kind of breathing technique that SEALs use. They developed it so that when their guys would go on these crazy missions, they would be able to control their breathing. So this is a Navy SEALs thing. So it's not a yoga thing. It's not a like woo-woo-hoo thing. So ready? It's breathe in for 5, hold for 5, breathe out for 5, hold for 5. You guys ready? All right, again, we're sitting up straight. You could have your eyes open or closed. So let's go. Breathe in, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hold your breath, 2, 3, 4, 5. Breathe out, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hold your breath out, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's do it again. Breathe in, 2, 3, 4, 5, hold, 2, 3, 4, 5, breathe out, 2, 3, 4, 5, hold, 2, 3, 4, 5. Box breathing. If that didn't feel great, you could do a count of 3. If you want to go even further, you could do 7 or 8. Use it anytime, anywhere. No one even needs to know you're doing it. So that's for you.
Kerry, I have a question.
Yes.
About, I'm not sure if you know the diaphragmatic breathing, like using your belly to breathe in. And
Yes.
do you have anything on that? The importance of that?
Okay. It's a longer conversation, but I'll give it to you. No, I'm going to give it to you real quick in a nutshell. This one I am charging you for. So the way your nervous system works, there's your sympathetic nervous system and your parasympathetic nervous system. Make it really easy. Sympathetic is fight or flight. We all know that, right? Fight or flight, sympathetic nervous system. Parasympathetic nervous system, rest and digest. All right. So the way we're designed so that we kind of go back and forth between those stages, right? So when I'm out running, I want to be sympathetic. I want to be able to have all of the, and by the way, in each state, there's a lot of chemicals that are pushed out through your body, right? So sympathetic, when we're up and about and we want to just like live our life, you kind of want to be there, right? And then we want to all the rest of the time be in parasympathetic, which is rest and digest. What's happened in modern society, especially because we're always on our phones and everything, we're always in the sympathetic nervous system. So we're always feeling like we have to fight or flight. And what happens is you could be in traffic and pissed off at the guy in front of you because he's not driving the way you want him to. And you feel the same way you would have all the way back when like a lion would attack you, right? So the easiest way to shift when you're in sympathetic, the fight or flight, you're breathing up here in your chest. I mean, I don't have a chest, but if I did, I have it. All right, it's up here in your chest. So the best way to switch yourself over to parasympathetic and relax yourself is to do diaphragmatic breathing. And all that really means is you want to breathe into your belly. The best way I could describe it is if you put your hands on your belly and you try to breathe in and make your belly become like a ball. Remember when you were young, you tried to make your belly really, really big? It's like that. So even with your players, if they're feeling really stressed right before they go up to bat, wait, you're a baseball coach, right? Yeah. To bat. I don't know a lot of sports terminology, even though I work with athletes. It's kind of embarrassing. But so you could tell them to do that in the dugout because they could relax in there if they're nervous kids, you know. But the truth is there's not one right way to breathe. And people want to think there is. There's not. There's a right way to breathe depending on your circumstance, you know. Or I would even just have them do the box breathing maybe instead, because you kind of want to keep them up when they're about to go up to bat. So maybe just teach them that the box breathing, or you could teach them that relaxation breath. Diaphragmatic breathing is when you want to shift back to the relaxation state. And we could talk about that another time if you guys want to. I know a lot about breathing in general. I've learned a lot about it. I've taught workshops. And honestly, I do this stuff for like a whole weekend. It would be a whole weekend workshop or at least like a half-day workshop. But if you have any questions, Adam, reach out to me. I'm called The Yoga Teachers on Instagram. And you could DM me and I'll give you any information you want.
Awesome. Yeah, that's what we were going to kind of dive into now is like, thank you, Adam, and thank you, Kerry, for joining us today. Where can people learn more about you? Kerry, where can they learn more about you first?
The best way for me is just to go to Instagram, The Yoga Teachers. So it's just The Yoga Teachers. I have a website, but mostly people contact me through Instagram. I just started LinkedIn thanks to Jonathan, but I haven't quite learned how to use it yet. And I think I only have like 12 links or whatever you would call them. But Jonathan is one of them. So I'm feeling good about myself. And Jason. So I really would say go to Instagram.
Adam, yourself, man?
I got a lot of stuff going on. I mean, it's obviously with the A's, but like Kerry, like LinkedIn, have a lot of stuff on LinkedIn.
I'm going to follow you. You better accept me, Adam. I need to up to 13. Come on, you need to help me there.
Lucky 13. I'll be lucky number 13 for you. But,
that is my lucky number.
All right. Well, then I also have baseball utility going, and I have a couple of buddies of mine. We're actually starting a thing called Mindful Player. A lot of the mental side of the game, but that's still in the works, and we're super excited about that.
Oh, thanks you again, you guys, for coming on today. And we look forward to, continuing having conversations like this with you guys in the future. And so for Adam and Kerry, thank you for coming, and we'll see you all soon.
Thank you, guys.
Bye, guys.
So Jonathan, we talked about being a champion of manage yourself. What's our final words today of being a champion?
I think the final word today is that what they all talked about was have a good why so you can overcome your how. And you have to be, what was the thing? Know what your goals are. Remember, these are steps. Write things down and then find out what works for you. That makes you feel good about it, that you have fun with it, and that's simple. I think that was the main thing I got about that was how to manage yourself. Was breathing, keep it simple, write it down, and understand that there's a long journey here.
Yeah, Jimmy, what about you? I know you came in a little bit late to the party, but hey, man, you still came in. So what do you got?
I think, like Jonathan said, I mean, it's breathing as I've known over, especially last year at the pandemic. I mean, stress, anxiety, and just doing breath work. I mean, getting mindful and calming yourself down will help you to make just better decisions. And so, like, I just go back to what Jonathan said. I think you have to take care of yourself first, but your breath work is so key that I'm studying more and more to help you have a clear mind and to focus on your goals and stay after it and not get so overwhelmed and anxious with everything going on.
I think, for me, finally is like the one word that came to me that makes sense is self-care. You take care of yourself. Self-care is not selfish. Take care of yourself. Whatever it looks like works for you, journaling, breath work, whatever we need to do for you to be the best version of yourself. That's kind of what I got from Kerry and Adam today. So Jonathan, Jimmy, thank you guys. And what's our next one? I think next one we're going to go with the flow, man. We got some flow teachers coming on talking about getting in the zone. So
and maybe we tap in to understand how Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes gets in the flow, especially Patrick Mahomes in the flow at the end, getting that Super Bowl championship, running it back and getting 2 times. Let's
back
go.
To back. Run it back, fellas. Hey, we know Jonathan's
the Chiefs.
Yes. We know Jonathan's a Chiefs fan because of the tuck rule back in. Don't even get him started, though.
Don't get me started, man. We talk about it at work, too, and I said, dude, I'm telling you, I got to go with Patrick Mahomes just for a lot of reasons, but I can't root for Tom Brady. I just can't do it.
Let's go. Chiefs red. Come on. Red Friday.
Hey, with that being said, make sure you're a champion of yourself and be great today. Have a great, guys.
Have a good one, guys.